On August 2nd, 1776, our founding fathers declared independence from British rule. After years of bloodshed, the colonies proved that they could fight for themselves. Despite a history-defining victory, there was still much to discuss. With so many ideologies at play, it was only natural there would be many disagreements. After 2 terms as president, George Washington would air some grievances in his farewell address of 1796. He disparaged the two-party system, foreseeing issues they couldn't then comprehend. However, something more unpredictable would come from this form of democracy. Secretary-Treasurer under Washington, Alexander Hamilton, was a partisan of the Federalist Party. According to legend, on a night in December of 1783, Hamilton was traveling through Massachusetts by carriage during a snowstorm. Suddenly, a frantic doe ran past the horses, startling them and causing the driver to lose control. The horses then stumbled on some ice and the carriage rolled onto its side and down a steep hill. The crash resulted in the death of both horses and the disappearance of the driver. Hamilton, with light injuries, wandered into a nearby mine shaft for shelter. He lit a fire and wrote about this experience in a journal. Fortunately for Alexander, he was not alone.
Sad news coming from New Salem today as the body of 26-year-old Alexander Mill was found near Bear's Den yesterday. Authorities were alerted when Dale Roque, a fire lookout, was patrolling the area early in the morning. Officers say that Mill was a mile away from his house and had died far earlier in the night. The current assumption is that the body was dragged or carried to the location it was found in. There are no current suspects and little evidence was found in the surrounding area.
Hamilton wrote about his experience in the mine. His presence in the cave seemed to alert something taking residence long before he arrived.
Hamilton wrote about meeting a tall, muscular man covered in hair. He had a horn protruding from his forehead and a rather featureless face.
He was reminiscent of a demon. I've not felt so unsure of a man being human, wrote Hamilton. The rest of the story is unclear, as sentences are left unfinished and disconnected. Historians disregard these papers as Hamilton was believed to be delirious from the accident. The only thing to be gleaned from these entries is Hamilton leaving the cave unharmed. After this point, Hamilton began to push his idea of a centralized government consisting of a single, merged group. He likened this to an eclipse. His faith had also changed, being far less Protestant and speaking as a self-proclaimed disciple. Hamilton's demeanor became that of a preacher's, applying his newfound faith to his political career. He would travel around New England in a strange, unplanned path, all the while giving religiously charged, Federalist-leaning speeches. Hamilton's shift in personality proved to be popular among American citizens. His speeches rallied more of the population to the Federalist Party. In 1797, Hamilton ordered the construction of a church in Sturbridge, Massachusetts, a place where he would give his most notable speech, the Steeple Address of 1800. Hamilton stood in the belfry of his church and rang the bell to catch the attention of passerbys. He ranted about the Democratic Republicans and boasted for the election of presidential candidate and rival Thomas Jefferson. I must take it upon myself to express my misgivings. I beseech you to foresee the consequences of your vote. If we blindly allow the reigning party to seize control or allow Mr. Adams or Mr. Burr to lead, we will sink into murky waters. However, I have been blessed with a vision, a grand renewal, a rebirth of our nation, an eclipse of government, of man, a time where we are swallowed by darkness and yet thrive, a time where the resplendent emerging light will illuminate our flourishing nation. If we fail to achieve this ideal, then there is no telling what the ferocious beast of the Federalist Party may do. In this fleeting moment, you must pray for this eclipse. Pray for the beast to be satiated. Just after delivering this final line, the observers of the speech erupted into cheers. The fervorous spirit of Hamilton had captured the minds of the people. Even the church bells couldn't drown out the uproar of support from the crowd. All of a sudden, a bang could be heard. Hamilton had been shot in the abdomen. The assassin was Aaron Burr, Thomas Jefferson's former running mate. Burr planned to kill Hamilton for months after his popularity grew. He wanted to destroy any chances of Jefferson winning the election. Ironically, Burr was arrested and Jefferson was handed the presidency. As for Hamilton, his wounds were fatal. Not only had he been shot, but he fell from the steeple onto the street. His body was taken and buried in Trinity Church Cemetery. Hamilton's death caused riots within New England. On the same night as Hamilton's death, 15 people had been murdered within the town of Sturbridge, all known to be anti-Federalists. Burr had also been found dead in his holding cell. The town had erupted into chaos and many residents left. Since then, the Federalist Party had disbanded. It's believed that the Republican Party, formed soon after, had co-opted Hamilton's ideologies. Other groups have done the same, but to a more radicalized degree. With the bloodshed that planted the seed of democracy, it proved to be a necessity for its growth as well. And as for the trail that had begun this all, in 1804, it was renamed Hamilton's Fall.
The best bargains for you and your home are right here in Boston.